This is Paul B. Today I'm starting a new subscriber series, which will feature appearances from my subscribers so that they can share their knowledge and passion of model rarity. Today's subscriber series features a subscriber and a friend, Roy Sharpe from the UK. Roy will be showcasing his airbrushing techniques for weathering track. If you have any comments or questions for Roy or for me, leave them in the comments section. I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Roy. Not Paul, you'll have gathered that. The accent probably gave that away. Who am I? Well, I am one of Paul's subscribers. And we got chatting over one of the videos that Paul had posted, and before you know it, we chatted about all kinds of stuff. And here I am. Now, the reason I'm here is because Paul has asked me to start a bit of a series on what I do for my model railroad, because I'm an avid modeller and railroader. Now, not only do I do model railroads, but I do military modelling and I also do wargaming. And I've been doing this for, oh grief, too long, 35 years, give or take. I'm not saying I'm a master builder or anything like that, but I have over the years built up some tips and techniques, some of which I'm going to show you today, that I think give lovely realistic results. They're fairly easy, in fact they're very easy. They don't need a lot in the way of materials, which I think is always good. Too many videos on YouTube show people doing the greatest weathering or the greatest this or that, and you need 25 different products. Well, none of that, thank you very much indeed. My budget only goes so far. And I'd like to think that the work that I do is realistic, and it's realistic because obviously of all the years of practicing and doing, but also because I'm a what you would call a train engineer. I drive trains. I'm a passenger train driver over here in the United Kingdom, and I try and model what I see. So that's me. Any questions, feel free to ask. But a fairly boring guy, but I like my model railroading, and my allotments, and my wargaming, and my military modelling, and my garden and photography. Okay, a lot of these things kind of bring a lot to the table when it comes to railroading. So that's me. This video is going to show you how I paint track and some observations about that along the way. So let's get into it. So this is a track work that we are looking to represent. Now clearly it's not finished. There's no shoulders on the ballast. There's no scenery and such like. But this was a little section I did yesterday for Paul's benefit. I did some kind of demonstration videos. The quality wasn't good enough for you guys and girls, so Paul's asked me to redo them. To be honest, they were never for publishing anyway. They were for Paul's use. So that's what we're aiming to do. So what I'm going to do is take you from the track, which has been sprayed with a rattle kind of black matte. Anything will do, dollar store black. It doesn't have to be a posh modelling brand. There is no advantage at all because you're not going to see this. This is just so that your top layers of paint will adhere properly. And also I suppose there's some toning advantage to having black underneath. You get where the paint doesn't catch that you're spraying on the browns and such like, where it doesn't catch fully, and that will be typically the tie ends. Then it's black, so you get some kind of natural shadowing. So we're going to go from that to the browns I use to the ballast that I use. So that's the purpose of the video today. So we'll spend a lot of money, and a lot of time usually on our rolling stock, weathering it, or not as the case may be, but a lot of us will weather our rolling stock and we'll try and make them look as realistic as possible, or certainly as realistic as we want them to be, and then we'll plonk them on track. And then we'll look at the rolling stock and admire it, and oh wow, it's fantastic. And then you look at the track. And that kind of lets the side down on a lot of layouts. You can't help looking at the track and the ballasting. You just can't. And I think it's very much like a fine painting, if you like. So you look at the Mona Lisa or your picture of choice, it's beautiful and it's art. the guy or girl when he painted down it, just got it beautiful. It's so good. And then they've put it on a wall that's got crazy colours on it, or a pattern, and it detracts from the Mona Lisa in this case. And that's the same with, I think, track work. You put your rolling stock on track that hasn't been painted or painted badly, or the bare amount of time possible has been spent on your track work. And the first thing you do is limit the enjoyment you get from the rolling stock because it's not on an appropriate background. So we're going to fix that, and it's going to be nice and simple, and hopefully it may inspire you if you're building a layout, if you've even got a layout, because this stuff can be done with the track down on your layout in situ. It's not a problem, okay? Hopefully it will give you some pointers, and you might think, you know what, I'm going to have a go at that, and just do a bit at a time until before you know it, a large layout, a small layout, whatever it may be, has got track work that you're proud of, and you think, yeah, that makes my Genesis boxcar locomotive, or pick a brand of choice, look really good, and I'm really pleased. So, less talking, Roy, let's get into this. Hopefully I'm not being too long-winded here, but I think it's important that we understand a little bit of the background before we get into the meat of doing the painting. So track, you think, okay, I'm going to paint it brown. That's great, that's good. Pick a brown that you like, a dark brown. So I use NATO brown a lot, and I also use a very thin down deck brown, because that, to me, those two colours simulate really the track colours I see day in, day out. But, and here's the thing a lot of people don't do, they paint the track brown, boom, but then they don't go in and vary the browns. I could take you, if you was in this country, a bit difficult if you're not, to places on the route I go where in 100 metres of track, 100 yards of track, you will have the colour vary so much you wouldn't believe it. Dark brown, almost black, a lighter brown, dark brown. There's no rhyme nor reason to it because it's continually welded section of track. So it's not like there are separate sections bolted together every 40 feet or whatever. And I can't explain it. I can't. I guess it's just a metallurgical thing. I don't know. But the colour changes is quite marked sometimes. Even in other areas you will get variance in the shade. Then you might go 2 or 3 miles and the shade's all the same, a dark brown typically. One of the colours I won't be using is light fresh rust. You hardly ever see. Even new track, it's not straight out the steel mill and straight onto a rail replacement section. It's sat around in the steel mill for a while, it rusts. So by the time it's down, it's still quite a dark brown. So I'm going to use 3 browns. I'm going to use the dark deck brown. I'm going to use a brown called NATO brown. These are Tamiya's colours. And I'm going to use flat earth. Obviously it's not flat, it's round, but the paint's called flat earth. So they're the 3 colours I'm going to use. A lot of IPA, and let's see how that goes. Bear in mind, once we've done this, you can leave it and you'll get the results that you saw earlier, but you can go further, and I will do that as well. So you can, it's your railroad, you pick and choose what you want to do, but these are the techniques I use. So the observant amongst you will notice the paints in front of me, and these are Tamiya paints. I am going to airbrush them. Now don't switch off, don't switch off. I've mentioned the A word, and that evidently freaks a lot of people out. There's no need. Airbrushes are a game changer, and if you've got one and it's still in your box and you've never used it, get it out and show it some love. If you haven't got one, have a look into it. They are amazing pieces of kit, and I'll be doing some videos at Paul's behest on how I use my airbrush, what you need, what I think you need, and so forth. But and this video today will go into some of the things you need to know about using an airbrush. but there will be a dedicated 1 or 2 or whatever it may be videos on the use of airbrush. In the meantime, there are videos out there, but we will be doing some for Paul's channel. So if you've not switched off because I've mentioned airbrush, okay, that's good. But I'm going to use these Tamiya paints. Now, other people have preferences paint-wise, and of course that's fine. A lot of people use Vallejo. Fantastic paints, absolutely amazing paints. But the thing with Tamiya is, how did I term it to Paul? It's like God cried and put his tears in a bottle and called it Tamiya paints. If you're a religious persuasion and I've offended, I'm sorry. But if you're not, it's how I view Tamiya paints. They are so pigment rich that you can thin them, and I use isopropyl alcohol 99%. You can thin them, so 1 jar you can thin down 3 times, so they're really economic as well. And they go on beautifully, they're not particularly expensive, and they clean up out of your airbrush great. Bear in mind you're using IPA to thin the paint, and you use an IPA to clean the brush. So go figure, yeah? You're almost cleaning the brush as you're using the paint. So that's the paint, and if you notice, there's a thin layer at the bottom of pigment. The rest of that is IPA. That's how far down you'll be thinning this paint to get the results that I showed you a little earlier. Okay, so we'll give it a good shake. Voila, it's just magic. There's the compressor running in the background, but hopefully it's not too distracting. I've loaded my airbrush. It's an Iwata Eclipse HPCS, if I remember correctly. Amazing piece of kit, but whatever you've got and you're happy with, use that of course. It's just this is an airbrush I've used for many years. Okay, so I'm going to be spraying paint, and normally I would have a respirator on, and if it's a small piece of kit I would use a spray booth. I've got neither of those because I'm going to be talking as I'm going, but assure yourselves of this. This room is extremely well ventilated, the back door is open, there's lots and lots of fresh air. That's the way to go. When it comes to rattle cans or enamel paint, anything like that, then it's a respirator on full stop. And to be honest, the rattle canning I will be doing and have done outside. So this is Tamiya paint, as you saw, thinned down, probably about 90% IPA in a nice open environment, so it's safe as. So just run it through, and what I'm going to do is seesaw backwards and forwards. You'll see as I go. So okay, there's a bit more painting. And what we're looking to do is not cover the ties and the track in one fell swoop, and some's falling out because I don't run with the top on my cup, which I ought to really, but you know what, this paint is so thin that it won't make a difference. You'll just be able to blow it away like I did there by pressing down on the air, but no paint, and that just dries it nicely. So I'm going to work up this side and just backwards and forwards. And the idea is, like I've said, you are not looking to cover the entire backwards and forwards without my hand covering up, sorry about that. Backwards and forwards. You're not looking to cover the entire tie in one go, and you are certainly not looking to have a solid colour on the tie. Simple as. You are looking almost for a wash effect. What you're simulating by doing this is the way light catches things in real life. So, although the ties may have been put down at the same time, they've been subjected to the same traffic and such like, they may be from a different tree, they may be from a different forest, and they will take to weathering differently. Now, they've been covered in creosote or whatever your company uses for preservative, and that might have been a different batch. So it will all change hues differently. So what this does, the ties are not a solid brown. I'll show you some pictures in a second to explain better. And that really is simulating how the light is caught by the different tie surfaces. Some of them can be very rough. The wooden ones particularly can really pit and get growth in it and stuff like, particularly on sidings and stuff like, mosses and fungi and all that kind of stuff. And this affects the way the lights catch the tie. So this is what we're doing here. So this is the effect you're getting. And as you can see, it's even with the first coat on, looking a lot better. There are areas where the black still stands out and comes through, and that's really what you're after. You want that depth that the black gives you, and of course the black's used so that the colours you put on have got something to grip, but also for the shadow effect and such like, because you're using such thin paints. And also the rails themselves, being made out of nickel silver, don't take paint well at all. But with the black undercoat on, they do. And hopefully this shows okay on the camera. So I've got the first base coat of brown down. Now we're going to go for the NATO brown, which is another brown, but it's lighter. And it's literally, again, just that backwards and forwards motion. Backwards and forwards. Just trying to simulate. Now some ties with this coat, now what I try and do is some ties I will almost pick out, or little areas of ties. And again, when I show you the video in a minute, that will become more apparent. So backwards and forwards, pick a few out. If that's not too badly. And then what I'll do, I'll go low down, so I'm almost parallel to the track, and then give it a spray as well. Now you'll find that the overspray from when you did the ties will adhere to the rail anyway. So you find a lot of a lot of the rails are brown from the overspray of the ties, and that'll be a very patchy setup. As I mentioned earlier about the colour variation on the track. So really, as you're spraying your ties, you're spraying the rails as well. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Again, it's a repeat with this last brown. So, just backwards and forwards. You've seen this before now. Perhaps some from the side, and then let it dry. Now I'm hoping the camera picks up the subtlety of the differences in the browns there. Obviously the top set hasn't been done, that's just the base black. It's the bottom tracks you're looking at. And again, it's a real, certainly in real life, it's quite a very variable kind of picture when it comes to the browns. So what we've learnt is that with three colours, black, so 4 colours I guess for your undercoat, and some IPA, some very thinned paint, that we can really transform the track that we're using, and that's and a bit of time. And that's what it's all about. It's simple. I mean, how long did it take me to do this 36-inch section of track? Not very long at all. I'll get some stills posted into the video with a decent camera, and hopefully you'll agree that the colours really add some realism. But this is just the first level, if you like. What we can now do is ballast, which is what I'm going to do. And what I will do once I've ballasted the track is I will come back and do a second run of weathering and such like. Now that video will follow in a day or two, because I've got to let all of the glues and such like dry. I will show you a quick tutorial, or just how, I guess that's a bit too fancy a name, just really how I ballast my track, and then, like I say, in a day or two there'll be a video posted with me doing the second tranche of weathering and toning down, and hopefully by then there will be some scenery up to the permanent way as well. So that depends how we go timing wise. I have a Russian army to paint, so we'll see on timings, but I'm just going to get the ballast ready and then a quick look at how I ballast my track. And hopefully you found this informative. Any comments, like I say, I will read and I will get back to you with anything at all. That really is about all there is to it. It's simple, it's effective. Give it a try.